I'm bringing the high octane energy. Are you with me, big dog?
I'm ready. I'm absolutely bringing the high energy. I can't wait.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to talk to you. Do you know what? I enjoy talking to you at the best of times, but to talk about this victory, I've been really looking forward to it. I can't lie.
I think, honestly, there was a moment yesterday during the game where I was genuinely sat there like, I don't actually think I can take this anymore. Like, yeah. I was so frustrated for 82 minutes, and then that ending, we need to bring it up again. And if you're watching this early, yes, guys, welcome back to the 3 More Points podcast. Until Chelsea play again, we can revel in this victory, can't we? We can relive those moments. We can change our profile photos to Pedro Neto going bonkers.
Yeah. You know, are you already pessimistic about the next game, mate? Can we not just have a little 10 seconds of enjoyment?
This is what I'm saying. We have this week, right? I've got no reason to be pessimistic. Because I can only go with what the final feeling was, which was electric. Absolutely electric, wasn't it? Unbelievable.
It was buzzing, like to see the players go over to the fans in the way that they did and actually enjoy a performance like that. I cannot remember, and in fact, you've got a much better memory than I do. When was the last time we won a game in such a spectacular last-minute fashion? I'll
tell you what, whilst I Google that, because I'm not prepared for this podcast, can you elaborate on the performance? Because I personally, I don't think it was a very good performance. So when you say performance, do you mean the ending itself, or do you mean the overall game? Do you actually think we played well?
I think it's as simple as this. Like, honestly, you did the video best and you said it perfectly, actually. I don't care what happens. I don't care who the manager is. I don't care who the starting 11 is. I don't care who scores. I don't care who's in goal. All I care about is that Chelsea pick up a victory. And so when we're talking about performances, to answer your question directly, no, I thought it was a fucking shit performance. And once again, it's a first half that is so negative. And this is why Enzo Maresca did go down the tunnel, because he didn't want to face up to what would be the truth, in that Chelsea fans are just sick of the style of football. And to be fair, kind of sick of him. But what I would say to encapsulate this whole mood of Chelsea fans right now is we've done something that we haven't done in a very long time. We've turned around the game, which we should absolutely probably have lost. And we had this in the reverse fixture where Fulham did the exact opposite to us. So it was full of karma. It was full of, it's the kind of victory that can change the course of the end of the season. Right? We go from it, being incredibly pessimistic, losing in the Conference League, which we should never have been in the first place. And we can now build and say we have got some form of momentum. And in a weird way, mate, I think I would have rather have had this result, bearing in mind the fixtures that we've got coming up, than a 3-0 victory. Is that mad to say?
No, I think you're actually very onto something here, because I've got the answer to your initial question. And I believe the last winner was Cole Palmer's 99th or 101st minute winner against Manchester United. And then if I remember correctly, from that point on, we went on an absolutely thumping run of form at the end of the season under Pochettino last year. So with that notion in mind and with that thought in mind, I actually was thinking during the match, actually, in a negative sense, but I'm thinking there's just something about what's needed at this time of the season where you dig deep and you find something out of nothing that just seems to be missing from these Chelsea players. And then 10 minutes later, I was like, oh, well, that thought was a waste of energy and a waste of airtime in the old brain, because we've actually gone and done something that I didn't anticipate us doing. So I think last season we actually saw that. And I think these players sometimes, particularly, and we'll probably get into this today when we talk about Maresca a little bit, I think the way that we play, sometimes we kind of give up on ourselves because we don't actually feel individually as players that we're about to do something magic. Whereas I think this game at the end, yes, Maresca's changes actually were good. I think he did well with the substitutions. I think taking Jackson off for Tyrique George, who's not a striker, was smart, obviously, because he scored a great goal. But I think the Chelsea players sometimes need these moments. The ending with the fans was absolutely amazing. You see Trev on his knees. You got Levi going absolutely potty. Enzo Fernandez with the corner flag there. It was a really special moment. And I just hope that the players hold on to that feeling at the end there, because they earned that in those last 10 minutes. And prior to those moments, I don't think we earned anything yesterday. I don't think we have the right to be in a Champions League race based on that first 83 minutes. So take that feeling and roll with it again.
Yeah, but ultimately, mate, this is going to be told the season. You know, when they do the Premier League years on Sky Sports, we'll look back on this season. Yeah, it's a fucking unbelievable show. And I'd like to do a YouTube version, actually, because they're not really investing too much time and energy into this these days. We'll have to see if we can get the rights, mate, and do it ourselves. I think that this season will be remembered as a season in which no one really wanted top four. There were constant inconsistencies. Even teams like Man City, who have been so imperious, are letting the team down in terms of their own performances. And I think really all we need to do is just hang on here, like ride the roller coaster, hang on and keep as close as we possibly can. Because I don't know if you've been looking at the fixtures, but Manchester City, for example, have Forest and Villa in their next two games, which absolutely could change the course of this race. And the fact of the matter is that we did just win, like you wanted to. We are still in the race. It is the hope that kills you. But the thing is that if it hadn't have gone this way, our club would have been implosion level. I wouldn't even, to be honest with you, Matt, I don't even think I could have watched your match review if we had lost, to be fair. It would have been so depressing. And you know I watch all of them. But yeah, I think the way that we're in it now, we've got a tough run of games, but we tend to do better in those sort of games. We're not very good against the top four, the top six. But in games where we've got a bit more space, it's a bit more open, our wingers have a bit more time on the ball and the ability to drive and actually run onto the ball, just like Nicolas Jackson, we might end up actually kind of enjoying and preferring a game against a harder team than a game against a team that's trying to do a lower block. And so you never know. I was watching Match of the Day last night and this morning, and people were saying over and over again, Chelsea have got the hardest run of fixtures, and therefore they'll be the ones that drop out. And this is good in a way, because it's almost like the pressure's off. We've got a hard run of fixtures. We know we've got a hard run of fixtures. The pressure is on those teams above us and around us to go, well, you've got easier fixtures. You know, you should be beating those teams, like the Palaces or whatever, the Evertons of this world. And they're going to have to do it. They're just going to have to find a way. And I think there is a narrative that we've got a tough run of fixtures. But I think all of these games now at the end of the season, barring the teams that are on the beach, I think are tough games. Look at what Wolves did to Man United. You know, Wolves shouldn't really be playing for anything now. They know they're mathematically safe, but they're on a really good run of form. So I think all of these games are going to be difficult for those teams in and around us. And like I said, mate, the fact is we're still in the race and we've got to fucking enjoy this now. If we manage to get Champions League football after this season, it will be wonderful. It will be a huge moment for us. And really, while we didn't have the momentum of a Pochettino end of the season, potentially we can start taking the positivity of getting into Champions League if we do it, and start to really build something quite exciting for next season with all of the acquisitions that we're going to make.
There's no reason why we can't go on a Pochettino-esque run. I love how Pochettino is no longer the Chelsea manager. He was Spursy for like 90% of his tenure. But like now when I say a Pochettino-esque run, we all know that means win, 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 win. That could happen. Like you say, like Everton are on the beach. They looked very much on the beach as well for large portions of that Man City game. We need to, that's going to be actually one of the hardest ones because you know exactly what they're going to do. And, Jared Branthwaite is going to be auditioning potentially, apparently, for a role at Chelsea in centre-back next season. So he's going to be on his best behaviour.
I think that was the one that included in the Ornstein briefing where I was just like, can't see it.
I think he's a really good centre-back, so I'd love to see it, to be honest. I think he's actually up there. And I know it's kind of, again, you want experience, Benson. He's not very old, but like he's been around for a long time now. And I think if you're doing it at Everton, which is a team that really does home in on being quite a defensive side most of the time, I think he's a really solid player. But I want to talk to you. Hey? Oh, yeah. Come to Chelsea, mate. We should fix that. We're pretty good with that, ain't we? Bloody hell. Yeah, we won't talk about him today. But let's... I want to pick your brains on someone that I know you're a big fan of because I wouldn't say I've come to the end of my tether because my tether has... Oh, God, this could come across very odd.
Your tether's snapped once again, for fuck's sake, mate. You can't keep talking about your tether on podcast.
I can't keep talking about it. But Nicolas Jackson has snapped it, mate.
Yeah. He snapped something earlier in the season, and I heard Ashton Wett was involved as well. To be fair,
blimey.
Yeah, do you know what would have been beautiful was that run of play where he picks up the ball, he lays it off. Was it to Pedro Neto on the left hand side? Pedro Neto gets the cross in, and if Nicolas Jackson's tethers were slightly longer, he might have actually got onto onto that ball, and that would have been a really good goal. Where am I with Nicolas Jackson? I think that Nicolas Jackson has been out for a very long time, and I think we are seeing a pre-season run of form from a guy that is being questioned. I think his confidence is probably taken a knock, and also potentially he's not 100% match fit, both in terms of like a fitness and also just from the injury perspective. And so I think it is concerning, and I think the combination or lack thereof between him and Cole Palmer is even more concerning than Jackson in isolation, isn't it? Like the fact that I think it's 16 for Cole Palmer and 13 games for Nicolas Jackson in which they haven't scored a goal. I mean, We're talking about that's insane. That's crazy runs from both them. So I am worried about Nicolas Jackson, but I think the thing is we've got to get through these last few games of the season. You know, see if he grabs a couple of goals, which I think is entirely possible. And then the summer is going to drive him to a level in which he's going to have to get better or he's going to be gone. I mean, it is that simple, isn't it? I mean, we are going to strengthen in the striker position, and we are going to probably buy an out-and-out number 9, which I don't think many people would describe Nicolas Jackson as per se. He's grown into it. And I think that competition will actually make Jackson a better player. And I think we need that in all of the positions. I really want someone to come in and, you know, stake a claim against Cole Palmer's position. To be honest with you, I really want him to drive on and improve. But I don't think Jackson's form is terminal. I don't think we're talking about a player that has lost it and he's never going to score again. I think Jackson is one of those players that he's a streaky kind of player, isn't he? You know, he'll go on a run.
He goes on good runs, and now he goes on bad runs.
Yeah. I think we're in one of those bad runs right now, and I think we're probably coming to the end of it. I think the more and more he plays football, and this might be the reason why he played on Thursday. Enzo might be seeing that and going, yeah, he just needs some more match time. Like, he hasn't had that much time on the pitch, and so we just need to get him some, minutes in the legs. So, yeah, what do you think about him, mate? Are you sick of him?
I'm not. It's a tough one again because I agree with what you're saying. There's purple patches of good form, and then there's these seriously dry desert-like patches of he's not even getting a touch to the ball. Like, I think he's had less than 100 touches in his last 5 appearances, which is absolute insanity.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. If it isn't his fault, then we've obviously all gone and had our say about Enzo Maresca and how he stifles certain players and whatnot. But also, like, I was speaking in a video that I posted on Monday. The majority of people will be seeing this on Wednesday. But I spoke in that video about how Jackson isn't getting involved, but there are so many moments where he's in the right place but doesn't do the right things. And I think as a striker, there's only so much, especially when it is a rigid system positionally that Maresca wants to play and he's so incessant on playing, right? If Jackson is there in the box, for me, it's about the basic things that you expect a striker to do that he just doesn't seem to be able to do. Like the cross that Neto puts in, we talk about the end of his tether and all that stuff. I was at the end of my tether watching it, thinking, just put it, just get you like, I don't know, somebody 20 years ago would try to dive in head of that and head the post. I don't care. Just try and put the ball in the net. Get your toe on it. Do you know what I mean? You've got to improvise.
Do you know what, though?
Do you know what, though?
To counter that, then, there was a chance, I think it was in the first half, where he gets the ball on the byline. He does a brilliant bit of, footwork to get around a defender. He lays it off to Pedro Neto. Sorry to say it, but Pedro Neto, he's got to slot that. He's got to put it bottom corner, and we wheel away and we say that's an exceptional Jackson assist. And I think, do you know what? It's so funny. I think him and Cole Palmer are the same. They're so close sometimes to pulling off extraordinary moments and then let down by their peers, or the pass is not quite right. I think it's so close away from clicking. And I just think they're in a period in which they are just really, really unlucky. So mate, come on, you agree. Neto should have slotted that. surely.
Yes, and I think Neto actually didn't play very well at all until the goal, which I think that was just just a Chelsea thing yesterday. I think all in all, no one could have been delighted with their performance. I said that I actually thought Caicedo probably had one of his weaker games. It wasn't a bad game. People were like, "Oh, how can you be so harsh on Caicedo?" I didn't say he was bad. I just said by his standards, he wasn't as influential as he normally is. But I think there's a huge thing that has to be said about something I saw yesterday that was good in the first half, which people be like, what? Maresca went down the tunnel being called a flipping wanker at half time. Like, how could there be anything good in the first half? We actually tried the long ball a little bit more yesterday.
The famous long
Sunday.
ball.
It was, but mate, what the difference was is that we managed to get the ball into the final third in the opposition half in about 3 seconds, even if it's like Jackson putting some pressure on the defender and then instead of taking the ball down and then being able to hoof it up the other end, next thing you know, we're defending again. We actually got a throw-in out of it or a free kick if the body was being used correctly. So I do want to say credit to Jackson for that. But isn't that something that I think against some of the teams we've got left to play between now and the end of the season, is that an adaptation that we can build upon moving away from that Fulham game? Because Fulham did press us quite a bit yesterday. Fulham aren't going to sit back and not have any of the ball. I think yesterday we had, 59% possession, which is relatively low compared to a lot of other Chelsea games we've seen this season where we've just been completely profligate in front of goal with 70% of the ball. So maybe if we look forward to some of these games, Everton, I think this weekend, and Forest are the two matches where I'd be like, this is going to be really frustrating. Don't expect to be entertained. Not that is the priority right now. It's about winning flipping football matches and getting 3 points and moving forward. But Everton and Forest are going to be tough. But Liverpool, Newcastle, and probably Manchester United, just because I don't think it's in United's nature to come to Chelsea and just sit there and park a bus.
They also don't give the fuck either, like Man United have done. Especially if they're in the final of the Europa League. I think they won't give a fuck about the Prem.
Yeah, I mean, I never even heard of the two players that played on the left side for them. What was it? Amas and Fredrickson? Like, who the bloody hell are these two? Amas, fair play to him. I think he looked pretty good. But Chelsea, I think, are going to benefit from playing against teams like this, and especially Liverpool. If Liverpool are champions, mate, what do you think the kind of Liverpool team is that's going to come to the bridge? Is it, we're the champions, respect us, we're going to ruin whatever party you're trying to get? Or is it the on the beach, we're the champions, Chelsea have got something to play for, so we go for it, Stamford Bridge crowd? What do you think? Do you think it's beneficial that we've got these 3 of these matches left at home? I'm trying to be positive here to try and believe we can do it.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm glad. It's nice to hear some positivity from the old Ben dog. I think I do think they will be subtly on the beach. Like, let's be honest, mate. Liverpool have a team of professionals and a team of seasoned pros, really. And so if they do just sort of like, not care, I would be surprised. But they're certainly not going to have the ferocity of a team that is fighting for a title. And I think, therefore, it is a good time to play against Liverpool. I think this is, to summarise, I suppose, my thoughts on Maresca as a whole right now, I think this is a good time to do so. I think Maresca needs to be more pragmatic. And I think he needs to go into individual games and say, do you know what? My system that I've been currently playing and my way that, I only know how to play, it's my way or the highway, and I'm only going to play this way. And if you don't like it, you can get out of the club. I think he needs to change his tune on that, and I think he needs to change it pretty quickly. And I think he does need to play balls in over the top. I think he does need to play Reece James as a conventional right back, and I think he needs to play Malo Gusto there as well. And look at even what Cucurella does when he gets the overlap, and Jadon Sancho can actually use someone to distract someone from that run on the outside and cut inside and get shots away. I think it improves everyone. So I think what Enzo Maresca will learn from this, even if he gets sacked, right, is that he will have to go into the Club World Cup and next season, and he will have to tweak the plan so that there is a plan B. And we saw this all the time when we brought on Giroud, or when we did, we did it with Conte, obviously, with the 5 at the back system. There has to be another option in the way you play, because otherwise you're so one-dimensional in the modern game, it's very easy to play against you. We know that everyone's going to invert. We know that's the way it's going to go. So I hope that Enzo Maresca does that for the next few games. And if he does, he can spring a few surprises, catch a few people out, and then we look like a completely different team. I do think the games that we've got coming up, back to your original question, they are games in which we can get in behind and we can use the explosive paces of our wingers. But what I would say then is the team selection is really important because Jadon Sancho doesn't want the ball in behind. Jadon Sancho wants the ball into feet. He wants to cut inside and shoot. So I think this is a time now where we need to see Noni make those runs that he was doing at the start of the season, try and use his own pace. And if he isn't going to do that, the next logical sub, because Neto Neto will do that, every day of the week and twice on Sundays, is Tyrique George. Let's see Tyrique George back on his conventional, wing position, and let's see him use that pace in behind as well. So I think the games that we've got coming up, we are going to have to play smart. Like even just the Everton game, we know how they're going to play, but we need to be smart in terms of the way we break that down. And also, I don't want there to be the game only starts at the second half. We need to improve the first half performances. It's not good.
Especially against teams that have also got something to fight for, like Forest and Newcastle. Especially at Newcastle. This is the game I'm dreading more than anything. If we go there and need to be kicked up the arse at half-time, the game's already gone by half-time, mate. If we go to Newcastle and we don't have energy and we don't go out there to play football, we're getting battered there. We're absolutely getting battered there, and that is almost a guarantee. So, for me, I want to ask you a question about Tyrique George because I've been really impressed, actually, with Jadon Sancho. I feel like almost when it's got to this point where people were very much like, nah, mate, I don't think we want to sign him anymore. I think he got so comfortable that he had a pretty good start and then he took his foot off the gas, which has been pretty much a theme for Jadon Sancho forever. But I think with Tyrique George, this as a striker option, you talk about being smart about Nicolas Jackson. He's not involved at all at the moment. It's almost as if he's disappeared and we might as well not have anybody up there. I think it was very bold of Maresca to leave Nkunku out of the squad. And then as a result of that, instead of bringing on Nkunku for Jackson when Jackson isn't really working, he brings on Tyrique George. I'm reading a lot of people in the comments telling me that they want Tyrique George to start ahead of Nicolas Jackson. And I get it. He's just scored a goal. He's just scored a beautiful finish. And we could only dream of that for Nicolas Jackson right now. I see you shaking your head. Is this something that Maresca absolutely shouldn't do? And tell us why.
No, it's not. I don't mean to denigrate, George at all. I think he's such an exciting player. And I think more than anything, what Tyrique George's development this season and his game time recently proves is that there is hunger in the academy players at a level in which we don't see from these, unfortunately, described mercenaries that we've got sometimes at the club right now with performances where they're brilliant one week and then just completely switch off the next week. And I think there is, of course, merit to have a discussion about whether he should start, matches. But how many times have we were sat 3 or 4 weeks ago going, God, we really do just need a striker. We really do just need a striker to be playing. Yeah. And I think it is a little bit short-termist to say that Tyrique George can go in and start these games that are going to be really difficult. He's going to be against big defenders in the Everton match. Obviously, I don't think they've got James Tarkowski. I think he might be out now, but they've still got Branthwaite and they've got other big players in and around the back there. Obviously, Pickford will be probably having a wonder game, bearing in mind playing us. And he did play well the other day as well. So I think it is a little bit rushed to do that. I also don't think it's his best position, which again, I'm a big proponent, I think you are too, of playing players in their best positions.
Yes.
And I think there's some value in that as well. So look, Tyrique George could completely prove me wrong and rip up an Everton defence and score a hat-trick. But I think it's probably better for the team if Nicolas Jackson starts the game. I'm absolutely happy, by the way, to have a discussion about whether Tyrique should start over Noni Madueke. Very happy to have that discussion. And in fact, if you gave me that option right now, bearing in mind his recent performances, probably say that Tyrique deserves a start. Don't see why not. So, yeah, I think if that's the discussion, I'm more open to it. But I think we get in narratives, don't we, as fans, where we sort of write off players. And I think it is too early to write off Nicolas Jackson. I think overall he has been the best number 9 that we've had at the club, mainly because he is the only number 9. But I think he's been fine. So I would be starting him in the next game.
Yeah, I don't think Tyrique George should be started up front. I think what made that substitution work is the fact that Jackson was having just an absolute stinker. Like there wasn't going to be any kind of random uptake in form. His movement was just off. And I think it is one of those moments where, again, like you say, I am looking forward more to Mark Guiu being back. Because if you remember back to the pre-match presser from Maresca against Legia Warsaw, he actually said some good things about Guiu's return and that he potentially might be back before the end of the season. So whenever that might be, if Jackson keeps on having these games where he's not doing very much, he's not getting involved, he's not doing that work that was so synonymous of his performances at the start, I absolutely agree with you. I don't think Tyrique George should be starting ahead of Nicolas Jackson right now. But in terms of impact, it's as clear as day. The man comes off the bench and his ball striking ability. If you watch any of the Chelsea Academy, if you watch any of Tyrique George's development throughout the years to get him to this position, it's actually ball striking that was one of his best attributes. It's something that we've seen a lot at various different youth levels at the club, which is something definitely that should be utilised. But I prefer seeing that used as an option if maybe Sancho isn't on it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think there's so many nearlies with so many of these players, which I think we should talk about that a little bit, because you mentioned Noni. And I would have said yesterday when he came off, I don't think there's very many people that would have been like, that's the right move. I thought Noni Madueke, when Chelsea aren't creating anything, we don't look like scoring a goal, at least if you get him the ball, he's going to try and take players on. And I mentioned that something that we didn't see yesterday, there were multiple opportunities that we could have seen it. But because of this obsession with inverting the right back and no overlaps, no underlaps from that player, Noni was always left with a 2v1. And most of the time, he couldn't really get into a good position to either make a decent shot or get the ball into the right place. I think for Chelsea right now, you mentioned and touched upon it earlier, the fullbacks need to be utilised a lot more. And whether I think Gusto now has got a problem, hamstring injury, that never means he's coming back in a couple of days. It could be a couple of weeks potentially for Gusto. So that means we might have to see the old Reece James. Now, I want to talk about Reece because everybody asked for him to come back as the right back, and then he makes a fatal error, which leads to Alex Iwobi's 9th goal of the season for Fulham. Was that entirely Reece James's fault? And do you think now we need to utilize fullbacks going forward more as like an adaptation for this idea of a plan B?
Yeah, it was his fault. And I think really that's the worst part of Reece's game. And I'm saying this from a position of, I absolutely love Reece James. Not only is he my doppelganger, but also he is an exceptional football player. And I think we're a better team when Reece is playing. But the worst thing, his biggest weakness is he's so lackadaisical sometimes. He's so good in his own head, which he is. He takes a little bit too much time on the ball. And I think that is actually like a general thing amongst the team right now. There are certain players that are just holding onto the ball a bit too long. And we need to move it quicker and move players around. And then you end up, picking up space. But yeah, I think with Reece, I think what he knows is that he's got this amazing talent, there, and he's got a very smart footballing brain. So if he does make a mistake, often he can, make up for it. But there's been a few times, even in these Conference League games, where he'll give away the ball in the middle of the park and the other team will be attacking. If he does that in a Premier League game, you're dead, But
why is he always has to be in the middle of the park to give it away?
It's just a fucking joke.
This is the frustrating part. And I've been trying for the last half an hour or so to be not getting on the back of Maresca, because we just had a win, It's been a while since we've won a Premier League game. It's been a while, like you said, since we've actually had it in such an emphatic, dramatic late fashion. But surely this isn't necessarily Reece James is bad, halftime sub, you shouldn't have been out there in the first place, my point proven. Do you know what I mean? There could be a world where Maresca's thinking that. He's like, I didn't want to play him, but he's so much pressure he's played. Then he makes a mistake.
We know he's better. Yeah.
He shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be in that position to make that mistake in the first place.
Yeah, and do you know what's so funny? Maybe in the week, right? Maybe I was doing this to cheer myself up a little bit, but I was watching some of those old Champions League games when we were actually quite good at football.
Oh, Juventus, Ajax.
I know. And you watch Reece James in that game and those games, and he just tears it apart. Like, he looks like he could be, a striker, the way that he hits the ball. I mean, even that free kick yesterday against Fulham, was a really good free kick. It was a shame it was directly at the goalkeeper, but bloody hell, we hit that hard. So I think, we are going to be a better team. And do you know what, mate? It's not even actually that they need to be fullbacks, 100% of the time. But it's like, right, we all agree that there's a moment in which we can change the system, i.e. there's a pressing moment, or there's a moment in which, the fullback is pushed up, Robertson is pushed up and there's space in behind, and Reece James sees that and goes for it and really attacks it. Or, on the other side, Pedro Neto is looking to cut in and shoot, and Cucurella sees that and has to go and bomb on the outside to give him a bit of space so that he can go and shoot. So I think sometimes it can be situational, but I do think that we are going to get the best out of our players, because we've seen it. Marc Cucurella for Spain, wonderful wing back. We saw it at Brighton as well. Gets balls in, can cross it, can actually shoot with his right foot as well, which I think is a very underrated talent of his as well. And then Reece on the other side, he bangs goals in for fun. He can, control balls, get volleys away, get shots off the edge of the area, get crosses in. We know he's got that in his locker. So I think there is a moment where it can be situational. It doesn't need to be 100% of the time, because I quite frankly don't think that Enzo's going to rip up the system completely. But he needs to do it in a way where there's small tweaks to the system if he isn't going to rip it up. So I think we will see more of that, because what we've seen, and the way that Maresca plays is he always wants his wingers to cut in and shoot. That's almost like the standard thing. So the basic football thing, mate, we used to do this in the park, was literally get a guy on the overlap. You've got way more space. It's not rocket science, is it? I feel like sometimes we talk about this and we're dissecting elements of football tactics that is basic. It's basic stuff.
I hate the fact I'm even going to say this, but now that Gusto is injured, I think we're actually going to find out if Reece James is fit and healthy or not. Because I do think that what we're saying here about that need for an overlap, I spoke about it in the video on Monday as well, and I'll put the screenshot up again from the Fulham game. This is in the 5th minute of the game. There's an opportunity there for Reece to either make an underlapping run beyond Noni, or an overlapping run around Noni. You guys will be able to see this on the screen. Josh is thinking, I don't remember this moment. But he does if he thinks about it.
No, I do.
We didn't see Reece move there, but we know that Reece can do that, and we know that instinctively he wants to do that. But I just think now that Gusto looks like he's got a hamstring injury, I think we're going to have to see Reece do this. And if he can stay fit now, between now and the end of the season, I think Maresca here is inadvertently going to have been forced into noticing something that we could have all told him as fans if we just saw him on the street. Reece James, his best attributes are going forward. If you can get Reece James in the final third, in and around the box with an inch of space to take a shot, he will. And you know what? I don't think there's a player with a better right-footed shot in the whole of Chelsea Football Club than Reece James. And I'm talking about...
Can I ruin your parade, George, for 1 second?
You can.
Because what's actually going to happen is that Moisés Caicedo will be the right back for the rest of the season.
What? Reece James is just not going to play now?
Yeah, Reece James won't play. It will be Moisés Caicedo right back.
I was about to light a firework there, but I'm glad you brought in some health and safety restrictions.
Yeah.
Considering we're all watching this in the UK.
Yeah, because Caicedo's going to go and play a right back, and Romeo Lavia is going to play in DM.
But this is... You kind of you started a Catherine wheel now. I'm ready to go. Do you know what I mean?
The fireworks are back.
You see, as much as I was about to drop some absolute bombs about Reece James's brilliance going forward, I am not opposed to this idea, So unfortunately, the audio actually cut out for the whole rest of the recording for this podcast, but I thought it was a bit too good and a bit too high octane to not finish it off by myself here. So there is an option where Chelsea can get Lavia, Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo back in. I think Cole Palmer, as much as going forward at the moment, he's not been firing, he's not been hitting. Check out yesterday's video if you want to hear more about my thoughts on that one. There could be a world where if Reece James isn't trusted to be able to get forward when Maresca is looking for that plan B, because we're still trying to wrap Reece in cotton wool a little bit. He doesn't have the legs to get up and down the way that he used to. If that is a case, or is the case, I do think there's a world where Moisés Caicedo could be used in that right-back position. And look, for the winning goal that we scored against Fulham, we see Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez. It's almost like a telepathic midfield link-up on the right side in the build-up to that goal. The more you watch Chelsea's winning goal, the more I think that is actually one of the best team goals we scored this season, let alone the incredible finish from Pedro Neto. But let me know your thoughts. What is the go-to lineup now for the rest of the season? Because I love Reece James, but again, we all looked a bit silly, didn't we? Because of that mistake, and then he gets hooked off at half-time in the match at the weekend at Fulham, and then Chelsea go on to win the game. Not saying that we wouldn't have won it if Reece wasn't on the pitch, but it was a bit more free-flowing and a bit more aggressive in that second half. Let me know your thoughts on it. I do apologise again that this did end a bit early and a bit abruptly today, but the whole rest of the audio was completely corrupted. So I've had to tail it off here myself. If you did enjoy yourselves, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out Josh's channel, linked in the description down below. We're recording one of these every single week. Check out the GBFC memberships, because I was going to do early access for this podcast, but instead, for the memberships now, I'm going to just do, after 6 things we learn after every game, I'm going to go live again after the watch along, 6 things we learned, then I'm going live after for members only. If you guys want to just hang out and keep talking about the game more after 6 things is posted. So if that is more up your street, I thought it was better than doing early access for the pod, because if the pod goes out too late, you guys might already be looking forward to the next game as opposed to talking about the one that we've just had. So that for me is a bit better for the old memberships. Linked in the description. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all later.